Hey, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us for this webinar with PJ Fleck. We're going to talk about our new book, Row the Boat. And PJ, man, I just love that we wrote this book together. I love that Row the Boat has been a huge part of your life. Can you just talk about what Row the Boat means to you and why it's so important to you?
Yeah, first of all, thanks to everybody joining us today. Thanks to you, John, for partnering with us on the Row the Boat book. And row the boat is a never give up lifestyle. It's a never give up mantra. It really just means never give up. And I knew that I was going to become a head football coach. I mean, we all hope to have our dreams come true. And I knew I was going to be a head football coach one day. And I wanted to be able to do something that even if people didn't like football, you could love our culture. You could love our process. You could love our way of life. You could love what we do within our cultural walls, academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, and respect that, even if you didn't like football, and really take over those principles to your own life and be able to apply those to your company, to your classroom, to your business, to your home life, and be able to take it and run with it. February 9th, 2011, I lost my second son to a heart condition. And after that happened, I was like, okay, I need to do something to, one, keep his name alive and live his life for him, because he wasn't strong enough to live his own life. And so my whole life I've had him, or for the last 10 years, I've had him on my back, and doing everything I can to spread a message of positivity, culture, joy, connectivity, positivity, the best I possibly can to represent his life. So that's where it originated. And that's when I really wanted to do something really special, take something very tragic and turn it into something hopeful for other people, not just myself in my life and to cope with it my way, but to be able to influence a community and make a community better. Because sometimes when you're a political figure, or you're a public figure, or you're a head football coach in this case, or you're a CEO of a company or head of marketing, and you're a public figure, people think nothing really happens to you. All these good things happen and that's it. When in reality, it's the people that have the most success that really have the biggest times of adversity in their life to overcome. And really, there's probably a lot more hardship than success in their life, but they have found a way to be able to, what we say, row the boat through those times, and found a way to keep their oar in the water and kept rowing even through the times of fear and doubt and those normal feelings we all have. So that's why we decided to basically make Row the Boat something that was for our whole community to be able to connect with, and not just our football program, which on a daily basis, everything we do, we want to be able to row the boat and stay connected, have everybody rowing the boat in the same direction, same speed, same efficiency. And we want to be able to have this fluidity within our culture and our program. And then we can get into a little bit more what it means with the oar, the boat, and the compass. But that's really where it originates and why it is what it is. Everything Row the Boat on my end goes right to charity, goes right to our Fleck Family Row the Boat Fund right here at Masonic Children's Hospital, right here at the University of Minnesota. So that's this isn't about me making money off this, or me making sweatshirts and t-shirts and all the partnerships we partner with and connected with over the years, and my wife has done a great job with, of being able to raise money for the Children's Hospital. So that's where it came from, how we kind of use it within our program, and I'm sure we'll answer some more questions as we go forward.
Yeah, and you wanted this book to your part to support this foundation that you are so passionate about. Can you talk about this foundation? Can you talk about your work with the hospital and why that's so important to you?
Yeah, well, first of all, we're one of the only football programs that slogan is directly tied to charity, right? I mean, everybody knows me as the Row the Boat guy, or our culture as the Row the Boat culture. But it's not just a rally cry or a, hey, fight on, or go green or go blue. That's fine. We have our own. It's called Sky Yuma. That's a rally cry. I love that. But our culture is row the boat. I think a lot of people sometimes say, well, you're taking the former tradition and you're kind of changing it. No, I'm not. Sky Yuma is our tradition, but our culture on a day-to-day basis is row the boat. And there's nothing more important to me than philanthropy. And as a football coach, you have this platform as a public figure to be able to use it however you want to use it. And we choose to use it for the good of education, right? Obviously football, but also being able to raise a lot of money for the Children's Hospital. And when we thought about writing this book, I mean, I have not won a national title. I think that's very obvious. Okay. But I've also been the worst coach in America, and I've been coach of the year 3 times. I've been to the top of the mountain. I've been the worst. And I think that's what this whole book's about, is being able to take things in your life, and no matter what they are, some are good, some are bad based on perspective of what you're thinking of, and be able to rode through all of them. And this isn't about, hey, do this and you win a national title. I mean, we had a 3-4 year last year, but we won. I mean, there was a lot of things going on in the Twin City area that were way more important than just football, right? And I had a choice to be able to focus just on football or focus on all the things that were happening in our society with COVID, with the social injustice, with our football team, with these young people's minds, with our community that was looking for leadership. So you have a choice to be able to do all of that. So to me, it was a huge success. I mean, there were games we didn't have 30 plus players playing because of COVID-19, right? And people could opt out and opt in and have these choices. So can you really measure success based on the wins and losses of that? Our team is more connected than it's ever been because of how we went through it together, how we rode through 2020 together, right? Not separate, but together. So when we started thinking about writing a book, it wasn't about, hey, do this and you win a national title, but it was a little bit more about, hey, we've turned around 2 programs. Here's how we've done it. If this can help your culture, if this can bring positivity, hope, love, connectivity to your business, to your classroom, to your company, to your personal life, and get you to overcome things in your life, then this is what we feel like we need to push forward, especially where we are in a time in our country. It's good to have kind of a lighthearted, very simplistic slogan to use that's full of hope, positivity, love, connection that I think the world could really need right now. So that's the main reason why we did it, and to help the Masonic Children's Hospital right here at the University of Minnesota, which helps the families. I'm all about helping people. There's a lot of people who donate, which is great, with research. I'm not into the research. I'm into the families we meet every day. We've all had our own issues with COVID-19. We've had our own issues in 2020. We all know that. But think about those children in the hospital that are allowed one visitor, right? That have cancer, right? That have heart disease, that have been just diagnosed with major illnesses that will never go away. Some have very few days to live. Some have maybe a year to live. Some are having surgeries during this very, very unprecedented time in our country. Think about being 7 to 9 years old and being in the hospital where you can't even have both your parents in the room at the same time. And your parents can't see you every single day. And you're a kid. And you got to go through that pandemic almost alone by yourself in the hospital. Think about that with what you're dealing with. So that's the reason why we decided to truly write the book, to create that hope and inspiration, help support the families, right? And that's what we do. We support the families. We keep the husband and wife together. We send them on date nights. We help the kids. We send packages to the kids. It supports all the activities, our Row the Boat barbecue that we have for the kids, all the activities our players do with the Masonic Children's Hospital. We take care of that family. And again, keep that family rowing together. Support them financially, support them emotionally, and support them with the things that they need to continue to move forward. Not the research side. This is the human being side. And that's what our fund truly does. So we're really excited and passionate about it, as you can probably tell. And it's very unique because college football is all about winning or get fired. But I'm going to get fired because we don't win enough games one day. They're not going to fire us because we don't run the right culture. And I think that's really important to understand as you keep moving forward. And they can go hand in hand.
Yeah, I was attracted to this book and this project with you because of your mission, your passion behind it. But as we wrote it, I became even more passionate because I saw your passion. I saw your heart in the book. In the beginning, when you talk about, losing your son, guys, when you read this book, it's going to bring some tears when you read that part. PJ goes into it more in depth than that, but also his backstory, his life, where he came from, his parents. There's an element of that. You get to know PJ from behind the scenes of what his heart was and what he was like growing up and what led him to where he is today to start Row the Boat. But it's not too long of a journey. You can read it pretty quickly and you get a sense of who he is and why he's here and the work he's meant to do and the difference that he wants to make. And that's what I love so much about it. Daniel just put a link to Row the Boat, the book, if you want to check it out. Would love for you to check out that book, and please tell as many people as possible so people can read this book and be encouraged by it. What I also love about the book is as we were writing it, COVID hit. And with COVID hitting, it was like, okay, PJ had a lot of guys opt out of the season, so he didn't have his strongest team, and yet they were still battling during the season. So as this is happening and the season wasn't a very successful season by standards of wins and losses, it's like, do you still write this book? And we talked about it. I was like, of course we still write this book, because now we can teach people about rowing the boat through adversity. Because PJ turned around Western Michigan. I mean, from a never successful, like hardly ever successful program to a top contender, one of the best teams in the country. You know, he took Western Michigan to that, and then turned around Minnesota after a few years, and all of a sudden had 11 wins for the first time in school history. And then you're like, okay, they always, you know, he always takes his teams to the top, but never before after these two, you know, programs has he seen a downward slide after going to the top. And so it was interesting to be able to write about that and say, how do you keep rowing through adversity when all you've known is rising to success and not coming back down? And so it's a really great testament to him, his leadership, his culture, and how he basically helped his team row through adversity. PJ, can you talk about that in terms of this year rowing through adversity and what that meant to you and why it was important for us to share that?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think that was one of the most difficult things, is that, you know, there was a part of the COVID part, which was really important. Then you had this other part of our society and the social aspect right here in the Twin Cities. I think that hit our players incredibly hard, and a little bit different than maybe it hit a lot of people in the entire country when it hits that close to home. And you were watching these 17 to 22-year-old people. And I always like to make this an analogy for everybody that listens of what I do. Remember, I'm a sixth grade social studies teacher at heart, but I want everybody to take their company right now, right, and fire every single person in it. You're probably saying, well, that doesn't sound very good, right? But then I want you to hire 18-year-olds to run your company. That's what we do. I know that sounds crazy, whether it's vice president or quarterback is basically the CEO of the organization, right? These are 18 to 20-year-old kids that run and basically show whether you're going to keep your job or not. These are kids. These aren't professionals yet, right? So they're dealing with all different types of emotions, and you have a choice as a head football coach to what you're going to value. And I think everybody has that choice to be able to make. What are you going to value in your culture? We value people, right? We value people first, and we value what we call the how of a person. We call ourselves How University. How you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And this is the crack on your shoulder, not a chip. This is proving to yourself that you're exactly who you say you are, right? Not proving to someone else that you're good enough. This is your heart, your spirit, your unconquerable will. This is about the choice to do the right thing. And coaches are constantly dealt with these types of choices every day. What are you going to value, and what are you going to make the right way? And you could put winning above everything else. Truly that. I could have truly picked football only. We lost 2 overtime games, and if we're 5-2, we make one more field goal or we block one extra point. Think about how the margins for error are so close that John would be talking about an 11-2 season, now a 5-2 season instead of a 3-4 season. The margin is so close. And what you value, I truly believe that the decision to value people and to value what they were doing as human beings and how they were feeling as human beings, not just football players. And not to say other people in the country didn't do this, but I felt because it was so close to home, we had to value it very differently. And truly, everything was about thinking about 21. What kind of team are we going to have in 21 if we don't do 20 right? What type of team are we going to have in 21 if we do 20 right and do the right things? Forget 20. This was more about, hey, listen, there are a lot of circumstances we can't control in 20. How do we keep everything, one, afloat, keep our oar in the water, continue to create a culture of positivity and connectivity in a world of divide, and continue to keep everybody moving forward and keep everybody together and grateful and form an identity as a team and focus on that? You know how hard that is? And that's what we explain, is how we were able to do that and make it all work for everybody involved, from coaches, from grown men and grown women to basically young adults and everybody in between. And that's what makes sport so unique, is that a college football program has that. You have a 60-year-old male football coach, but you're mixing it with a 17-year-old kid, right? And think about all the things we've all been through together and what we can share if we all do it together. And we put all of our own needs aside and do it for each other. So I think that was one of the major contributors to where we are now because of what we did then and what we were able to sacrifice at that particular time that created our now, right? We always have a saying, don't sacrifice what you really want down the road for what you want right now. And I think that's so hard in sport because everybody's worried about being fired all the time, right? But if you constantly do things the right way and you keep rowing the boat and keep everybody in that boat, and rowing through that type of adversity and even the success, right? And doing all the things for the right reasons, you're going to find a way to you're going to have highs and lows and ups and downs. The line of success is not straight. It is up and down, up and down. It's like the stock market, right? If you're a day trader, it's really risky. If you're thinking about the long term, you're going to continue to make money. So again, that's what this whole investment into our players as people, more than we ever have. And we do it all the time, more than we ever did in 2020 and changed our best. And whatever our record was our record. We were able to build a foundation for what we're going to see hopefully in 21, which is a way better football team of wins and losses because we paid that price of change, which is very difficult to do.
PJ, I'm wearing a hat that says culture on it. When you are not seeing results right away, whenever you go into a program to turn it around, it takes a few years usually. And you have the critics, you have the naysayers who don't see what you see. So you start to see positive change, you see the growth, but you may not see it when you're looking at it from the outside. How do you keep going? How do you stay positive during those moments? Because you've had to do it twice now. Not many people have done it twice. How do you stay positive in those moments as you're building your culture to eventually see the results that you want?
Well, I think this is all about, we talk about now. When are we going to do things now? Right? We came here with a vision, and both places that we've taken over, we've come up with a vision that we're going to get to a championship level, academically, athletically, socially, and spiritually, period. And spiritually is not religion, right? It's just thinking about someone else. It's believing in something bigger than yourself. So we go into this whole thing of everything we do is at a championship elite level, not good, not great, at an elite level, everything, which again is not for everyone. Okay. There's some people that only value one thing in their life. You're going to really struggle with me because I'm going to teach you how to value everything in your life: academics, athletics, your social life, and your spiritual life, how you give and serve. So if you're not for that, it's going to be hard for you to really understand me. Haters are really, really common for people that are successful. Heather sent me this. I think everybody will love this. Haters stands for, it's an analogy, having anger towards everyone reaching success. Okay, so that's what a hater does, right? Having anger towards everyone reaching success. LeBron James is maybe the greatest basketball player of all time, possibly, right? He's got a play-in game tomorrow night against the Golden State Warriors, right? And people are doubting him. What else does that guy have to prove? He has haters everywhere. We're talking about maybe the greatest basketball player of all time. But again, that's part of the journey of success. If you want success, you're going to have to deal with that. There's only so many people that like me, and they're usually fans of the Gophers. If you have to play us, you probably don't like me. If you have to recruit against us, you probably don't like me. If you live in Iowa or Wisconsin or anybody that's our rival, you probably don't like me no matter what. I mean, I could be giving to the Sisters of the Poor, and I could be a higher power himself, and you'd still hate me because it's just part of sport and rivalry. So you've got to realize that comes with the territory, that comes with the job, and you can't take those things personal. And again, you've got to help teach the people around you to not take it personal. It's one thing for the head coach. We get paid the most to take all of that responsibility. But it's when everyone starts attacking your players, it starts attacking your staff, is when your leadership truly shows. And leadership comes down to three things: listening, looking, and lifting. And lifting is the most important part. It's my job to lift everyone else around me. And people say it's all about me. It's all about PJ at Minnesota. Well, when it's bad, you bet. You don't hear about anybody else. You hear about me. You see me more than ever. When I first take over a program, I don't let anybody touch my players, my staff. I have billboards of me because I know it's going to be really hard. Put it all on me. When it starts to go good, I get out of the picture a little bit more. The culture's been taught. Everybody knows the culture. Everybody knows what we're doing. And then everybody else gets the credit when you have success. So I think that's one of the things, knowing that when you dive in, you take away a lot of those roadblocks for the people that work for you, right? And a lot of that's the crap, right? But so many times as leaders, we want to take the crap and push it on someone else because it can't be us, right? I hired everyone here, right? It's my responsibility to make them better and to keep them out of that type of harm's way that's going to affect them. They don't get paid enough to take the mental and physical and emotional abuse that gets thrown at coaches. I do, right? So I have to find a way to always make sure that they can do their job in an elite way. And I can be able to balance all of that of how we can get to our vision one day down the road. So I know I just threw a lot of things out there, but it's all about leadership. I know when we took the job from Western Michigan, Heather asked me, she goes, "Are you sure you want to do another year one?" And of course, you just went 13-1. You were 13-0. You went to the Cotton Bowl of Western Michigan. I'm like, yeah. I mean, how hard could year one be? And I don't remember the 1-11, the struggle, the doubt, right? You're the loneliest person in the room, and everyone doubts what you do. And you're a 32-year-old first-time head coach. But when you go through it, you know the process of doing it and how to do it. And you know if you keep with it and you keep that oar in the water, you will get there. And nothing's guaranteed, but if you keep doing it over and over, it creates better chances. And we tell our players, nothing, just because you practice well, just because you practice hard, nothing's promised, but it just makes your chances better. And if you can keep stacking up better chances, you got a better chance to succeed in life. And that's all that we want to continue to do with our players, is give them the best chance mentally, physically, and emotionally, academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, to have success, which we define as peace. Knowing you did everything you can to be the best you can be, period. People that don't become successful in their own mind and want to blame someone else, somewhere along the way, didn't do everything they could to be the best they could be. They don't take ownership of that. They give it to someone else, right? And they blame someone else. So I think that's what I love, the thrill of taking over programs. We won 11 games in 2019 for the first time since 1904. And I knew that coming in. And a lot of people are like, you can wait for a better job. Wait for a better job. Listen, I was taught a long time ago, there are no great jobs. People make jobs great. They do. Bo Schembechler made Michigan great, right? Woody Hayes made Ohio State great. You can look at the coaching staffs, cultures come in and make places really great. And I think that's what's really special. We have a ton of tradition here, but we haven't won a championship in close to 70 years. Well, our whole plan is to do that. So I like the thrill of taking something that isn't and giving it something that it was, or something that's never been before. I love that. Some people don't want to run into that fire. I do. And I love that part because I think life is boring without it. And I don't like boring.
You are definitely not boring, PJ. And everyone, hey, we're going to take questions at the end. If you are a member of my mentorship coaching program, you'll be able to ask a question later on. We're doing this free masterclass for everyone because PJ's message is too important. We wanted to share it with everyone, but we have monthly meetings just like this with great minds who are doing great things, who are coaching every month. So every month we have a coaching session. And we basically go through this. You get to ask questions, learn, and grow. And so Daniel will put a link to that if you're interested in joining that. We do that every month. And this is, again, a masterclass. It's just like this. It's a collective effort. But we had PJ here. And again, this message is too great. PJ, writing the book with you was a blast for me because, people need to understand, like, we wrote this book together and PJ wrote most of the words. And so when it's really his story, it's his row the boat. I saw my job as the steward of this, of the steward of his story, of helping to convey it in the best way possible. And so I would say, hey, PJ, tell us about this, tell us about that. And his voice just came shining through, just like it does right now on this webinar. Like his voice just came right through on the page, right? You're reading it and you can hear him speaking as you're reading this. And you'll see that when you read the book. PJ, did you enjoy that writing process? I just got to ask you about that in terms of the book. And was it fun just to share? You're smiling. Was it fun just to get it out and share it?
Well, as we were talking about critics and haters, I mean, people heard I wrote a book and they're like, oh, that's why you went 3 and 4. like I spent all year on a book, you know what I mean? And I didn't coach at all. One thing, writing with John, it fit my personality perfectly. I've been a huge fan of John Gordon for a very long time, like all of you. I've read all of his books. And the reason why I've liked his books is because I got an 18 on the ACT. Don't take this the wrong way, John, but I got an 18 on the ACT. I think I got a 15 in the writing department. Okay. I taught 6th grade social studies, and I don't read books that are very long. I love short books, simple, to the point, that I can use and apply in my life. And so that's why John interested me. And we got talking, done a lot of things together. And it came up one day when we were talking, and simple as that. Hey, would you like to write a book? Would you be willing to write it? Would you be able to do this? And we're like, yes. And it just was a perfect combination, and it was a perfect fit. And I think that's what this was. And it didn't take that long. That's the great thing, is this wasn't about, pulling things from all over. This was just about, I've had it in my head. I've had it in our program forever, and just put it on paper. And it didn't take that long to write. And I think that's what I appreciated about it too, is it didn't take a lot of time to be able to do, just to tell your story. You made it very simple, John. And we went from there.
Yeah, I'll tell your critics, it did not take you a long time. I can vouch for that and know that's not why you went 3 and 4. It was definitely not. It was, I think you wrote most of it in the off season anyway. So I think that was, we wrote most of that. We only wrote a few parts during it anyway. So
about 80% of it was done in April when we were all quarantined. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So we had most of it written anyway. So anyone who says that doesn't know. So tell us about some of the components in the book. Let's talk about some of the key parts of the row the boat concept. We have the oar, we have the boat, we have the compass. Take us through that just briefly. People could read more about it in the book, but just give us a brief overview of each one.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So first of all, I think people have to understand, I don't consider myself a motivator. Okay. Some of you might be like, man, I want to go play football now. Or, you might be sitting going, hey, this guy's boring as heck. I don't know. But I don't consider myself a motivator. I'm a cultural driver. Okay. My wife always tells me the hard part about being the example is you're the example. Hard part about being the standard is you're the standard, and you're the standard all the time. That's hard in leadership, right? But that's what I am. I'm a cultural driver. So just as much as I teach the culture inside our program, I have to be that. Because when you are teaching a culture, you are driving a culture, everybody's looking for you to screw the culture up. They're not looking for it to be right. They're looking for when you mess up. And you have to be so on your game, and you have to be it has to be you. And that's one thing I love about our Row the Boat culture. It is me. I don't have to be anybody else but myself, right? And again, that's not for everybody. I don't want to be for everybody. But the ones I'm for, we're going to help change your life, because we're going to take this culture and apply it in your life and make it way better, right? And make you continue to be able to go forward. So there's 3 aspects. Really, I call them like 3 choices that we all have in our life, okay? The first is the oar, which we consider the energy. You determine the energy you have every day. And I'm not talking about just loud, eccentric energy. I'm talking about the internal energy, the drive, the passion, the purpose that you have. That is what the oar represents. Okay. So we have pink oars for breast cancer awareness, puzzle piece ones for autism awareness, red ones for American Heart Association, yellow ones for troops that come home in our community. And unsolicited, we hand out our culture to people we don't even know, letting them know, listen, we have enough energy to row for you. So we all have that choice of keeping our oar in the water through good times and bad. A lot of people want to keep their oar in the water when there's calm seas. That's easy. Anybody can do that. Anyone can do that, right? But it's when it gets really hard to keep your oar in the water. That's the choice that we all have to make, right? And whether it's football, whether it's business, whether it's education, we all have that, whether it's our own family, we have that choice to make. So that's what the oar represents, this energy we bring to our life, okay? And not just this, like I said, this personality or this volume, but it's our internal drive to be our best. The best, that's to be determined. That's someone else's opinion and view. Our best is knowing we're doing everything we can to be our best. Comparisons steal your joy. Compare yourself to you yesterday. That's all we want to do. Teach it every day, and we'll continue to teach it with everybody who comes in contact with our culture, because that's what the focus is. Our world and social media is screwed up because of that. People take their oar out of the water, and they stop rowing because they're comparing themselves to someone else. They don't think they're good enough because they're comparing themselves to someone else, and their focus is off of their life. Use your life to make other people's better. Don't make other people's lives to make your better. Okay. So that is the oar. That is the number one thing. And that is a choice we get to make. The second part is the boat, right? And this is one of the most important parts, because this is the sacrifice, right? The boat keeps us afloat in life. If you're having a really bad day and you're having a really hard day, go serve and give. it'll change your life. It'll change the way you look. Go to a children's hospital, right? Go to a homeless shelter. Go somewhere that somebody has it worse than you. And you'll bring perspective right back into your life. But it's not just those bad times that you need to do that. You got to make that a habit. Trained behavior becomes boring habits. Boring habits create elite instincts, one way or another. It's the boring habit stage where people stop doing it because it's routine. You got to fight through that routine to create an instinct. The boat teaches us to live a life of serving and giving. That every time we serve and give, our boat gets bigger. Well, we know bigger boats stay afloat in bigger storms. Bigger boats take people farther. Bigger boats take more people farther and weather bigger storms together. And if you live a life of serving and giving, and you apply that with the energy you have for your life to be the best and make everyone else around you better with your energy and your purpose and your drive and your passion for what you're doing and how you're doing it, right? You're going to go really far. And that boat is our support system. If you don't serve and give and your life's about just you, right? You're going to sink. Your boat is going to crumble in any storm. You're really going to quit. And success comes down to not quitting. The only difference between me and the person that should be sitting here in the head coaching chair at Minnesota was somewhere down the road, I passed that person because I just didn't stop when it got really hard. That's it. And when you hear successful people's stories, that's exactly the missing piece. Is for the 99th time that became the 100th time, they didn't stop at the 99th time. But that person they passed did. And it really is the survival of the fittest. The last part is the compass, right? And the compass is the direction of our life. We all get to determine that. Now, are there outside circumstances that we cannot control? Yes, that's called stress. Pressure is what we can control. Pressure's healthy. Compass is about getting yourself around the people that can get you from where you are to where you dream of being. You want to be a turd? Get yourself around turds. You want to fail a drug test? Get yourself around people who do drugs. You want to be the CEO of a company? Get yourself around CEOs. You want to be a professional baseball player? You better get yourself around people who have played professional baseball. Whatever it is, you have to be able to get yourself around people that are going to help you go from point A to point B. I'm a coach. The origin of the word coach comes from the olden days, right? Of the horse and carriage, the buggy, the coach, the stage coach would take people from where they are to where they were, where they wanted to be. Not where they were, I'm sorry. Where they are from where they wanted to be. And that's what a coach does. And as an educator, that is my job. Whether we win or lose, my job is to make sure I take the young people that come into my life every year and take them from where they are individually and collectively as a team, from where they are to where they dreamed of being. And our record, not one player has brought up 3 and 4 last year, but they brought up how much better of a person they are and what they're capable of accomplishing and what they went through together. Pretty powerful. When you row a boat, okay, with the oar, the boat, and the compass, your back is to the future. This is rowing a boat, right? We're going that way, right? This is a canoe. This is paddling. That's not row the boat. That's called paddle the canoe, okay? We row the boat, right? So when you're doing that, your back is to the future. None of us know what's coming. None of us. But you have control of what right now, which is keeping your oar in the water with every stroke, making sure you're in line with your teammates, making sure you're in line with your team, making sure you're putting it in the direction it needs to be. But you're also looking at the past. And this is where people, I think, that struggle make a big mistake. They want to ignore their past. They don't want to go back. They don't ever want to look at it again. Your past is your fingerprint. It's your DNA. It's exactly how you got to where you are. Embrace it. Good or bad, or however you think of it, embrace it. Because you constantly, it's the only thing you can see when you row a boat. Is every sunset that keeps happening. And that's knowledge. That's experience. That is needed. So some people want to build a wall up and never go back. That's what Row the Boat's about. When my son passed away, I could have built a wall up and never went back. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I knew that what my journey and my responsibility to the public and the community was going to be serving and giving them beyond football, especially the jobs I was going to get as the youngest head coach in the country. I'm 9 years of being a head coach now, and I'm only 40. So that's crazy. Some coaches don't even last. The average life expectancy is 7 years for a head coach. And I'm on year 9. So for me, it's bigger than just the wins and the losses, and understanding that your past is needed to create your future. Embrace it. Embrace that past to create the future, because that's what you have to be able to lean on to give to the people that you're leading. So that's a quick synopsis of it.
I love it. And people are in the chat are saying they love your passion, and I love your passion as well. I mean, it's so contagious. It's clear why so many young men and their families want to be a part of your program, why they want to play for you, because the energy you bring and how much you care about them, and it makes all the difference, and also how you make them better. We all want someone who's going to make us better. We all want someone who's going to help us improve. And I think if you never get to play for PJ, the great thing about it is you get to hear this, and you also get to read the book, because the book, as you read it, it jumps off, those words jump off the page and make you better. PJ, there's a part in the book that I got to bring up, and I want you to share it, and then we'll start taking questions after this. It's a story that I just love, probably one of my favorite stories in the book, where if you don't do this, there is no PJ Fleck, the coach right now. It was during training camp, and it was you trying to make an NFL team, a roster. And it wasn't looking good those first few days. You had one opportunity to prove yourself and show what you can do. And I really believe it was that moment that obviously you've been preparing your whole life for, because you were that way your whole life growing up. But that moment that caught the coach's eye, that made them realize you were someone special, that allowed you to actually eventually become a head coach and what you enjoy today. Because think about it, you see PJ now, everyone, but it was this one moment that defined in many ways his future. Now, there might have been another moment that would have come up, but you read this book, you realize how special this moment was. PJ, can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'll give you the real Cliff Note version of this. One, I was an undersized player my entire life. I'm 5'9", I'm 180 pounds. And it's not like I got way smaller, right? I've been this way for a very long time. I graduated high school, 5'9", 150 pounds. I set every receiving record there was in the state of Illinois, and I didn't get any scholarships till the very end, when some kid couldn't get into school, basically, right? And he transferred or did something, they had open scholarships. So I got a scholarship. I got a full ride scholarship from Northern Illinois University. Very similar to my NFL story. I broke a lot of records at Northern Illinois. I'm an overachiever, king of the twos. I call myself TOO, too small, too short, too slow, whatever it was, right? I was the king of all those. So I go to San Francisco. I'm in the NFL. I'm an undrafted free agent. My signing bonus was like $2,000. $1,000, something like that. I mean, I had a bill by the time I got to San Francisco. So I wasn't one of these players that like got drafted in the first round. I mean, I had to pay taxes. I actually paid more than I got. So I go into our first mini camp, and obviously mini camp, 15 years ago is very different than it is now. And I don't get any reps, and I'm with the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm like, great. Now as an NFL coach, I know that if you don't get any reps your first mini camp, you probably get cut. So I'm like, all right, they're not invested in me. I didn't get a big signing bonus, probably getting cut. Hey, at least I made it this far. Well, then Dennis Erickson at the end of practice calls everybody up after the 2.5 day camp, says, we're going to do a conditioning test. And and all the veterans are like, yeah, here we go. They run the minimum of what they have to do and they're done. Well, I'm like, the only way I'm going to make it to tomorrow is if I win this damn thing. There's no way I'm going to make it till tomorrow unless I win this. Right. And so I had to find a way to win it. And we did the beep test, which if you're a PE teacher, you know the beep test, beep, and then you got to beat the next beep, and you got to go back and forth, back and forth. It's all it is running back and forth. But I knew that I have incredible stamina, and I knew that I could find a way to make it to the top 5. And then from there, it was going to be a gut race, like running the 400 meters. It is a gut race. You get to the last 100, it's over. I mean, it is just, now it's straight guts and heart. Well, I did that and found a way to win it, and actually tied with Brandon Doman, who was from BYU, who was in the exact same position I was. We literally fell across the line at the exact same moment on the last rep that we could both do. But it was that time that I got noticed, and I made it to tomorrow. And then I got a few reps the next mini camp and made the most of it. And then from there, I lasted 2.5 years, had multiple shoulder surgeries. I'm not fit for the NFL. I mean, look at me, right? So, but I got into coaching. I got cut and offered a job because of how I practiced, how I played, how I was a teammate. And I think I wouldn't have lasted that 2.5 years without that. And I definitely wouldn't have lasted that 2.5 years to become a coach, because the guy who cut me is also the guy that offered me my first coaching job. And that's why I wear a tie on the sideline, because Jim Tressel and Mike Nolan offered me basically at the same time a coaching job. One cut me and one was giving me an opportunity, and one cut me was giving me an opportunity to go do it. So, but it was this, if I didn't play in the NFL, I probably wouldn't be a coach now. It was that 2.5 years of meeting all the people I did and influencing all the people I did that have come back tenfold because of just, they saw my why. They saw who I was. They saw my how. They saw my purpose by everything that I did and how I did it. Even something as small as a conditioning test, which really doesn't mean a ton to some people, it meant my entire future. So some people got the minimum. All I had to do was run 50, and then I met my contract needs, right? They stopped at 51. But see, my purpose was way bigger than theirs, right? I was earning tomorrow. And I think when you have that attitude and you think about that, and you think about that on a Tuesday afternoon, do you have that spirit and fire? Because someone does. I promise you this, I do. Okay, so eventually people in your business are going to pass you if you don't. And that's why we call it a chip on the shoulder, or a crack on the shoulder, not a chip. That crack was to prove to myself that everything I did was worth it. I wasn't proving to the coaches I was good enough. I wasn't proving to my teammates I was good enough. I was proving to myself I was exactly who I say I was. And that's a crack. That's way bigger, way deeper than just proving to someone else that I'm good enough. Right? I was going to prove to myself I did everything I could do to be the best I could be. And if I got cut after that, I got cut. But there was no way I wasn't going to walk out of there a success. And I think that's where that whole story kind of took its shape. So
the heart, the passion, the soul, that one moment, that one day, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I just love that in the book, there's a scene, not going to give it all away, but there's a scene where PJ talks about growing up and his neighborhood, and he and his neighbors would box, he and his friends, and he was the youngest and the smallest, and he would box these kids. So the image of him boxing these kids and what they would do and how they would set him up for failure, and they would literally make him box with his weakest hand, and all those moments, I believe, prepared him for these moments, for the challenges he was going to have to go through. You'll have to read about that. It's really good. Let's now take some questions. If you are a member of this community, feel free to ask a question right now. You can unmute yourself, right, Daniel? And if your video is on, unmute yourself. Feel free to ask a question and come on up and ask one.
John, Brendan.
Hey, Brendan. Brendan, sir, PJ Fleck.
Hi, Brendan.
PJ, how are you? You said you're the king of the twos, but you were a hell of a player and a hell of a performer. When you were a great performer, the mindset of the performer versus that of a coach is a totally different thing. What was the reason you wanted to then help others and coach?
Yeah, here's why, right? When you're a player, you look at a coach and be like, what influence do you have? I've got to make all the plays. And I was like, how hard could that be? Then you become the coach, and it's basically you're the joystick, right? And you're putting them in that position to have success. And it made me appreciate when I became a coach, all the things my coaches did for me, that I didn't do that alone. There was no way I could have done it alone. They put me in a position that I had a certain skill set, and it was up to that staff to put me into things that I could do, not the things I couldn't do, and to bring that out of me. In the offseason, challenge the things I couldn't do to get me to do them. But also when it was time to perform, it's a coach's job, right? And a leader's job to get the most out of their performers by making them do things they are capable of doing. And I think that's when I really started to truly appreciate that and see both sides of that. So I have a way different appreciation now than I did before, from a player to a coach perspective.
I know Brendan, who is coach of the Detroit Pistons, also the Dream Team, the U.S. Dream Team, the famous one with Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. I know that he's appreciating this, PJ, just hearing you talk as a coach. I know, Brendan, you're loving this right now.
And it goes back, John, to that pressure and stress. Like, we define so many things in our program. We have 200 words that are defined, okay, that on a cultural basis, this is what we are going to think as a team. Right? Leadership, influencing others positively, period. Maturity, doing what you have to do becomes doing what you want to do. All these words that get thrown around, These kids have no idea what they mean, right? But hey, you're immature. What the heck does that mean? So you got to define things as a base layer. And we do the same thing with stress and pressure. I'm so stressed out. Okay, sure. Why? Because you are allowing the circumstance to dictate your behavior. That's not controllable. Control the pressure that you're under. Pressure is embraced. And all those great players you had, Brendan, I mean, they embrace that pressure role. I love pressure. Like, I love being in that 4th and 1. I love the control of the call. Now, the criticism, great. If we don't get it, it was a bad call. But there is no such thing as hindsight. We don't believe in momentum, and we don't believe in hindsight in our program. We don't believe in that. You can't talk like that. Momentum is pixie dust. It's fairy dust. Okay? It means, and Brendan, coming from a basketball coach, right? Somebody's playing really good defense and really good offense, and somebody's not. That's what momentum is, right? There's a 20-0 run doesn't just happen, right? There's a reason for that. So we train it in practice that there is no such thing as momentum. We blow a whistle, everybody's got to do a wall sit for 45 seconds, make as much noise as they can. And then we come out and run one play, offense versus defense, live, let's go. Right? It's taking the crowd noise out of it. It's taking the away trip out of it. It's taking the we're down points out of it. We're ahead out of it. And same thing with hindsight. I wouldn't have went for it on 4th and 1. Well, you know what? If I didn't think we were going to get it, I wouldn't have either. But it's making sure you train the players and how to handle that pressure at that moment instead of thinking it's all just stress. So, but thanks for your question and appreciate that. John, I'm going to shut my shades. Keep going.
So good. Other questions? No comments, just questions. Coach Frank, you can go. You probably have to unmute yourself.
I'll go. Is that
Go
okay?
ahead. Yeah, Justin. Go ahead, Justin.
Hi there. Hey, I'm an athletic director in Michigan, and I saw your speech, the Football Coaches Association. I've got the sticky note here on my computer about instilling toughness and accountability through positive reinforcement. And I think that's one thing I really enjoy about the way you attack your job. However, especially at the high school level, it's kind of it's a mindset change for a lot of coaches. They think being a positive reinforcement is being soft. And so I imagine at your level, it might be the same way. And so how do you challenge coaches to change their mindset about accountability through positivity?
It's the $1 million question in 2021. Okay. We live in a very hypersensitive world on social media where everybody can have a voice and opinion. They can write articles about you, true or not. People have a voice bigger than they've ever had. There's two things I want to comment. One is there's a big difference between hard and bad. Okay. A huge difference. Hard is needed for accountability. Okay. It's like parenting. Okay. So there's this hard aspect that you have to go through a grind. The more you give and the more you work, the harder it will be to quit. That's the hard part. There's a balance to when it becomes bad and counterproductive. And I think that some people have this thought of, we've always done it this way. That's bad. When you can't answer the question why to everything your players ask you in 2021, you're done. You're done. Okay, now, what is why? Okay, for us, there's a difference between developmental coaching and ego coaching. There's a difference between developmental players and ego players. Development and ego, big difference. Development knows, wants, understands why. The programs I've taken apart of are developmental programs. We haven't had a ton of success, but I'm going to tell you why we're going to have success. And everything we do in our program, I'll tell you why. We have a 3.56 teen football GPA, meatheads. That is top 5 in the country. Well, we sit in the first 2 rows. We wear a collared shirt. And some people say, you're taking away our constitutional right. Good for you. You're not, my program's probably not going to be for you. Because listen, it's a choice. You don't have to. You You don't have to do that, but this is part of our team rules together. And if you don't want to do them, you're going to be miserable here, right? You're not going to get it, right? We had a midnight curfew during the spring. I don't want to be the fun police. That sucks socially. But our city was, I get paid a lot of money to keep my players safe. And I'm a parent. So there's this hard versus, is that bad? Sitting in the first two rows wearing a collar shirt, paying attention in your academics, is that bad? Or is that just a little harder way of doing things to get a positive result? I never punish with conditioning. We don't punish with conditioning. We don't punish with academics, right? Well, one thing we do, we're going to make them really good husbands one day because we do punish with cleaning at times. They got to come in and clean the weight room or clean this, or they got to do certain things, but the punish word's out. They know the consequence prior to doing it, right? And they know the standard of the program. So this hard part is this one side. This bad is when you don't know why, because I said so. Well, that can only last for so long when you're getting a result that you want. When you're not going to get that result, everything will be questioned. And the way word spreads amongst your program, right? You're young people who are going to find a way to be able to question you on everything you do. You better have an answer for it. Why we practice the way we do? We run 90-minute practices. Those are some of the shortest in the country. We had 15 practices in the spring. We had no pads on for 5 or 6 of those. We do it differently. We do it our way. What is needed for that particular team? But we embrace how we practice, how we prepare is our advantage. And everything we do, somebody can always ask me why, and they'll have an answer. So that's the difference between developmental coaching and playing, and then this ego, which is just because I said so. This ego coaching or this ego player is, I don't have to learn that skill because I'm good enough. I'm skillful enough, but I don't need to learn my talents. I can just do it on the field. I'm a gamer. That's not going to fly. So I guess that's how I'd answer that question. There's developmental coaching and developmental playing versus ego playing and ego coaching. And the big word with those two is why. And then there's this hard versus bad. And there's that balance, right? And I think our program is hard. I'm never going to say it's not hard. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's hard because it's going to teach you academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, how to be a better man, husband, father, football player, philanthropist. And that's okay.
And Justin, I would add to that in terms of positivity. People think it's soft. Now, being a positive person, optimistic person, an encouraging person is what these young players need today. They need to be encouraged. They need to be challenged hard, like PJ said. And they also need to know they're loved and they're cared about and encouraged. And PJ does both. He's positive, but he's going to challenge you and push you. And I find the best coaches like him do that. And it's funny, they always get a bad rap. So I would say to those coaches at the high school level who don't get it, show them PJ's example, show them his record over time, show them how he improves his cultures, show them Dabo Sweeney and what he's done at Clemson and how he's done it that way. These are the best coaches that are doing it that way. And that's what's needed today in today's world. The old school way doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. In the long run, it's going to drain them out, burn them out. And those players are going to tune them out. And so we need more PJs and people who lead like that. So thanks for asking that, Justin. That's a great question.
You know, one thing to echo right on you, John, is that they got to find joy in the process, positivity in the process. The problem with our society is it's all result driven. When we were all growing up on this call, you can enjoy the process, right? Everything was so centrally located, but now they live in this massive world where they're judged every day by people they don't even know constantly. You know, when you wanted to piss somebody off, you had to actually go up to somebody's face and say it face to face. And that took courage, right? Nobody has to do that anymore. But so they're losing this joy of this getting better. You know, even my son, I went to his baseball game this Saturday. I mean, he's been struggling. He's 7th in the lineup in baseball. He's 11. He had back-to-back home runs and he rounded second. And he was so focused on the result that he gave a big Kirk Gibson fist pump. And I'm like, if I'm the pitcher, I'm going to throw the ball at your head next play. Then he hits another one and he comes around and he's got the squid shoulders, right? As he's coming around second. I'm like, you are definitely going to get beamed. You're truly focusing just on the result. And I said, I'm proud of you, but I'm not proud of you for the home runs. I'm proud of you that the practice you put in for the last 3 weeks when you were 0 for 4, 0 for 3, that finding the joy to keep going and not quitting. Like that's what I'm, forget the home runs. That's a direct byproduct of the process, but it's keeping that positivity as they grow, but keeping it towards the standard. You come to our practice, it's louder than you could ever imagine and faster than you ever imagined. And every single one of you are 100% invited to any practice we ever have. They're always open. So, because it's unique. And some of our players are like, did I just get yelled at or did I just get like encouraged? Because it was done in a very demanding way, but the culture was being demanded and the action they did was being coached, not the person. And I'm doing it in a way though, that every single player gets coached the way that they learn. And that's very difficult for coaches. We have to find cultural ways to teach the lifetime lessons individually. Okay. And that's audio, visual, right? But some people, I need to get in, they need hard coaching. Some don't, but they all still need the same message. So I think that to add on that, what John said, he's 100% right.
PJ, someone said in the chat, which I love, they said that it's not ego, it's we go. I like that. Ego is about you. We go is about the team. I love that. Something I'll remember. I always say the geniuses in the audience. So one final question, because we'll have to end this. One final question, and would love to hear it.
I'll ask a question, John.
All right, Jeff, make it a quick one.
All right. So when the top leadership of the organization needs to be the ones who do the cultural change, but they don't see the cultural change that they need to have. How do you do that? How do you see coaching up to the executive or the head coach?
Yeah.
Because they don't see a vision.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is you have to build a culture where people feel very comfortable coming to you. And listen, when you're the boss or you're the leader, however you look at those words, right? It's always uncomfortable at times because that's somebody that is paying your salary and you don't want to piss them off. But I tell our players and our coaches, I am a problem solver for a reason. I get paid a lot of money to solve people's problems. Bring them to me. I'm bored when I don't have them. Like if you have ideas, bring them. There's a healthy environment to grow. We define change as truthful listening, not truthful talking. It's truthful listening. For me to change, I have to listen to everybody around me. Okay. And this is where, again, you have to have an environment where people feel very comfortable coming to you. And again, there's different levels of comfort. But I feel very good where we are as a culture and a staff of people bringing things to my attention. And not only that, I have people in my life that hold me accountable. And I think that's really important. I mean, my GM, my general manager, who's my right-hand man, he holds me accountable every day. My wife holds me accountable every day, right? My spiritual life holds me accountable every day. And to have that human aspect of you, right? And be able to, one, apologize when you're wrong, give credit to everybody else when they're right, and create an environment of positive growth. That's hard to do, but that's what's needed to be able to coach up. And you better be in the warfare just like everybody else. You better be in the trenches like everyone else. And I think that's important. You know, in the football world, the head coach is one of the coaches. And for us, I'm right there with our staff. And most of the time, I'm probably in the office more than our staff. And they see that. It's not like, hey, I'm on the golf course at noon while you guys all work. We work for each other. They don't just work for me. And one thing I've tried to do is not use the word head coach as much around my staff and my players. I'm a part of the team. I'm a member of the team. Right? I might be the final decision maker, but I allow my team to make decisions. I give my team choices. I give my players even I discipline them. Here's your choices. I give them opportunities to be able to have leadership roles, and same with our players, or same with our staff. You know, there's a lot of times I'll send a guy to go speak somewhere. I'll send a guy to do a clinic. I'll give them, opportunities when we have the spring game for them to be the head coach and them to be the coordinators, for them to run their own schemes, things like that. So there's this freedom in that, but again, staying within the cultural walls. And as long as they do that, then we can continue to grow together.
Jeff, that was a great question. Really appreciate you asking it. PJ, People always ask me, is he the real deal? Is he like that? Yes, PJ is the real deal. You all just saw it on this webinar, and I appreciate him so much. PJ, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you making us better, and we appreciate Row the Boat. Hey, the book, it supports PJ's foundation. People ask how can they support the foundation. PJ, the website for the foundation, is it up yet? And when can they go there?
Yeah, the website will be up June 1st, and that's rowtheboat.org, not .com. So rowtheboat.org. And you can do all types of things there. You can order all types of our Row the Boat line. Everything sold on that website goes right into the Masonic Children's Hospital. And that's our whole mission and purpose and why we have a platform that we have. And we just appreciate John partnering with us on this and making Row the Boat book a reality. So hope you all get a chance to buy it, support kids at the local hospital here, and change a lot of lives and hopefully be able to help your life and your culture as well at the same time.
PJ Fleck, thank you so much. Everyone, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you and hope you'll join our monthly coaching program. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Row the Boat. See you, everybody.
Thanks, PJ.
Thank you.
PJ a hand, everyone. Awesome.